There's dancing behind movie scenes, behind the movie scenes. Daddy Rani, she's the one that keeps the dream alive. From the morning past the evening to the end of the light. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45.
Hey up, you bunch of smeggers and godless heathens. Welcome to episode 6 of the Godless Smegcast. I'm Godless Smeghead, and thanks very much for listening and subscribing. The Smegcast is growing in popularity, and in the last 2 episodes with Beagry and Crystal, they've had great listening figures and they're still climbing. So I just want to take the time to thank everybody out there that listens to this while walking your dogs, or working, or masturbating. Well, I hope you're not listening when you're knocking one out, but if that's your thing, all power to you. Tonight's guest is Zoe Jen. She and I had a great time chatting, but unfortunately after 2 gremlin-free weeks, the Skype gremlins returned and our first call was lost, but more about that in a minute. A few days ago, I said a question on the website and on Twitter: what's the stupidest thing a theist has ever said or tweeted to you? Now, I didn't get too many responses, but of those I had, I've picked these little nuggets up. Now, the first one is from Mike Martin. In fact, I'm going to do a few of his. You can follow Mike at Mike Canny Talk. He sent me a tweet. Somebody once said to him, "To prevent people in heaven worrying about friends and family in hell, God wipes your memory." Mike also engaged with a Christian called Joy Carr. I haven't got the full conversation, but Mike's exchange started with, "So you were saying because of God's promise in Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 22, tsunamis just do not happen?" Joyce Carr replied, "You are taking God's holy word out of context. I'm inviting anyone reading this to help me answer Mike's question above. I pray for God's will for your salvation, Mike." Okay. Mike also sent me a Martin Urilism. Most of you listening to this may know who Martin Uriel is. He's an absolutely crackpot theist. If you want to follow him, you can at Uriel, Yerrell. I don't know why you'd want to follow him, but if you do, all power to you again. He tweeted, "There are no evolutionary biologists. It's all just fairy stories." Martin Uriel also tweeted that bacteria have always been resistant to antibiotics. And he said, "The design of human bodies is not imperfect, though fallen nature has introduced damage." Once again, don't know why you'd want to follow him, but if you do, that's fine. Agent Roxy, who goes by the Twitter handle at Shield Atheist. Roxy tweeted me, "One theist said biology was proof that God hates gays or they'd be able to have babies." More on the prejudices of people during the call with Zoe Jen later. Brookline girl Darcy, lovely tweeter, always nice to see her tweets in my timeline. She sent me a tweet that somebody said to her, "Your parents must be ashamed of you after they paid for a Catholic education." Maximum Atheist, who you can follow at Maximum Atheist, sent me a Facebook post. A theist tweeted, "I cannot be your friend if you don't believe in God." And Maximum Atheist replied on Facebook, "There are 3,700 gods created by mankind. See godchecker.com. Nice to see the one you believe in doesn't teach acceptance or tolerance. Judge lest ye be judged. Have a nice day." Great comeback. And finally, you can follow Mr. Mosh at in_at_Mosh. Been Twitter mates with him for a long time. He tweeted to me, "Once a young Muslim woman was so offended at the idea of me being an ex-Muslim and bringing my kids up as atheists that she said I should go and rape my godless wife in front of my godless children. I replied, thank you. Islam is beautiful." Excellent. And I think we can all agree with your sentiments there, Mr. Mosh. I'm going to keep that question going, actually. So if you have had something really, really stupid tweeted to you or said to you by a theist, I mean something that's just totally out of this world and bonkers, then please email me, godlesssmeghead@hotmail.co.uk. You can tweet it to me at godlesssmeghead on Twitter. Be sure to mark it with the hashtag Smegcast. Or you can leave a comment on the blog, which is godlesssmegcast.wordpress.com. Okay, on to Zoe Jen. As I say, our first call didn't save due to technical problems. Just to recap what we talked about, she's a Twitter friend of both Beagry, who she pronounces Beagery, and we, which I thought was quite funny. And she's a friend of Crystal as well from last week, and that's how we met. We talked a little bit about her background. Zoe moved to Norway to be with a boyfriend. She settled with him and then found out he wasn't the guy for her, so they broke up. She remained in Norway and she married a native Norwegian. And she's very happy. She has 2 children, very happily married, a good family life. She chose a mixture of Red Dwarf and atheism questions. We missed the atheism stuff we've missed out on the first call, but she's a 7 on the Dawkins scale. She said she'd like to be a 6.9, but she can't bring herself to do it. And that her parents were also atheists. Her father was somewhat a militant one, so she's never believed in her life. She's never had God in her life. And that always pleases me that, people have got such cool parents. So we talked about a few of the Twitter atheists that we admire, such as Deep South Athie, as she calls herself, although Zoe and I always pronounce it in our heads Deep South Athie. Hello, Deep South Athie, if you're listening. Religious Tea, Godless Spell Checker, and the infamous and wonderful Franco Soup. And on the second call, we resumed our discussion about Red Dwarf, and then we went back and re-recorded the beginning, so I hope it seems pretty seamless to you. So all in all, an enjoyable chat with a great Twitter atheist and a great Red Dwarf fan, and I really hope you enjoy listening as much as I did talking to her. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give you at ZoeGen_. Please follow her and enjoy the chat. My guest tonight is somebody who I've only recently started following. I met her through Beagry and through Crystal Contempt, so she must be good people if she's friends of theirs. I'd like to welcome Zoe Gen to the Smegcast. Hi, Zoe.
Hiya.
Hi, how are you doing? Okay?
Yes, I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Great. Yes, I'm not so bad. Been working hard today. Have you been at work today, or have you been...
No, Sunday's not work day around here. I've been at my niece's birthday. She was 10.
Oh, excellent. All right, did she have a good party?
I think she did. She certainly had a good cake, so she seemed happy.
Right, excellent. I wanted to ask you, I understand that you and John, from a couple of weeks ago, Beagry, are doing a podcast.
Yeah, well, we have, in fact, now done a podcast. We did it last night, yeah. So.
Right. I look forward to hearing that eagerly. Has he got all the web space and everything sorted out and all that?
He said, when he asked me if I wanted to do it, I'll do all the technical side. So that is what I signed up for, to just lend my voice and opinions. And he claimed to be doing the technical side, but he's done one before. So I think he does know what he's doing.
Right, okay. Yeah, he seemed quite tech-savvy when I spoke to him. Yeah, I've got every faith in it. And I'm sure it's going to be an entertaining podcast.
Hopefully.
And like I say, we met each other through John and through Crystal Contempt. Did you listen to last week's podcast?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, she's great, isn't she, Crystal?
She's absolutely fantastic. In fact, just earlier tonight, she was sending hilarious pictures on WhatsApp.
All right. What have you gone for? The Red Dwarf questions or the atheism questions? Or, like Crystal last week, do you want a bit of a mixture?
Yeah, that's more what I was thinking. I'm slightly worried that I won't pass an in-depth exam about Red Dwarf. But,
right.
a bit of a mixture would be ideal.
Okay, right, that's fine. Now, I know we've talked about this on Twitter. You don't really use the word smeg so much in everyday life, do you? So, first question's really, really defunct. I bet you have used it 1 or 2 times in the past, though, haven't you?
I think I would have done definitely back when I was a teenager and watching it when it was originally on TV. Yeah, it's just passed a little bit out of the lexicon these last few years. Yeah. And it wouldn't get me very far in Norway either.
Probably not. They'll probably say, what's a smeg?
Yeah.
Unless they're talking about a fridge.
Yes, they definitely have the fridges.
Yeah, so that's probably what they're talking about. Okay, what's your favourite episode of Red Dwarf and why?
Okay, well, I do love a lot of the really sort of well-known episodes that everybody loves, like Backwards and Back to Reality, Quarantine, those types of episodes. Yeah. But just for the sort of sentimental good feeling it gives me, I'm going to go with the very first episode of season 1, or season 1, series 1, you can call it, because I just have such fond memories of watching it with my family. Back when it was originally on. So the end, love that.
Don't you love how they called the very first episode of the show The End?
Yes, I mean, it's just a good start right there, isn't it? And the vending machine that's like all cunty with him, doesn't give him what he wants, and the scutters.
All of the scutters.
Yeah.
But it was they only named the scutters in Series 8. You only found out that, Bob this. I could be mistaken.
Not the word scutter, but
not
the individual names, right?
Yeah, the individual name, Bob the Scutter, who was basically the scutter who could get everything. No, at the end, I mean, great episode. Once again, find it hard to watch because of the aesthetics, but that could just be the shallow git in me, goit, smeghead in me. But I don't know about the theme tune. What do you think about the theme tune? I mean, at the very beginning, it's kind of ominous, isn't it? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree that they improved and sharpened up a lot of things a little bit later on. Yeah,
the theme music kind of made it feel as though, like you say, it wasn't a comedy, it was a drama, and it kind of added a bit of a, kind of added a downer to the beginning, even though Holly's lines at the start were usually quite funny.
Yes. It almost made you a bit not sure what the tone was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the theme tune, and then you've got that boom, 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 like that. I mean, it sounds very ominous. But from Series 3 onwards, when you had the rock theme, you kind of knew where you were, and the music put you in a good mood in anticipation for the episode. That's the way I saw it, anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think was the funniest line or funniest moment in Red Dwarf?
Oh, I'm so glad you said moment, because I was going to ask if I could have a moment instead of a line.
Yeah.
And so that was good. It is the bit where, and this again, I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2, but it's one of those earliest ones, and it's where Rimmer is taking an exam in his ever ongoing quest to become an officer, and he writes all of the answers on his arm, and then when he pushes up his sleeve,
he sweated it off.
He just melts it all into a big black mush in his hand and on his skin.
Yeah, I remember it, and now I'm not sure which was it. Could have been the end. I'm sure one of the listeners will correct me on this, but I think that might have been the end, because weren't there other people in the exam room with him?
Yes, it's one of the flashback episodes to where everybody's alive, I think.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
It could have been Me Squared then.
Could have been.
Could have been Me Squared, or Me Too, as it's called.
Oh, right. Oh, I thought Squared, yeah.
Norman Lovett or Hattie Hayridge as Holly, and why?
Norman Lovett. Just always found Hattie a little bit annoying. I mean, she's funny and everything, but just something about the persona doesn't appeal to me quite as much.
Now, you see, I'm starting to feel sorry for Hattie, because no one's gone for Hattie yet. Everyone has gone for Norman. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping one day to speak to somebody who will go for Hattie. But no, Norman, very, very funny. Hattie funny in her own way, in a different way to Norman. But
by all means, yeah. But, and like you're saying though, but I already picked episode 1, the end, and all the Everybody's Dead Dave. It's him. So, yeah. So
you do know you dwarf.
I looked it up again on Wikipedia, and I just sort of went through all of it, and it really reminded me, because at one point I would have been able to quote you the whole thing verbatim, but it's been a lot of years.
I'd advise you to watch him again. Just give him another run through. I mean, have you got Netflix in Norway?
Yeah, I do. We've got a Norwegian Netflix account and an American one. I don't have a British one.
Right, okay, well I'm pretty sure they're on Netflix in America. I don't know if they're on Netflix in Norway. They certainly are in the UK. So...
Yeah, I don't know how it works. It's all my husband's department. Yeah.
Right, one thing I wanted to ask you, because like I say, you're mates with Crystal, as am I. Mm-hmm. Do you have any opinion on the whole Blockbot Atheism Plus thing? And if so, here's your time to air it.
Well, obviously, with all the other cool kids, I'm on it, of course. Yep.
But Crystal isn't.
I heard you say that yesterday. I can hardly believe it.
She still isn't. I checked yesterday. She's still not on there. That's... Wow.
Well, I think that proves that Vita Brevi doesn't listen to your podcast then, I think. I got on it. Actually, I didn't know that I was on it for ages, because it never occurred to me I would be, because I was quite new at Twitter, and I just thought that I was a nobody who would care. But it turned out that I was actually, in fact, on it. And that was for something I said during the whole elevator gate thing. By which I mean not the specific time Rebecca Watson was in the lift, but I mean the account of the person that everybody then claimed was stalking them personally and was imminently going to murder them. I don't know if you're familiar with that whole...
Kind of. I know that a lot of stories sprang from it, just from the fact that this guy asked her for, if she wanted to go for a cup of coffee with him.
Yes.
I don't know. Vita Brevi and Oolong, I'm kind of revising my approach to them because I seriously think they have mental psychological issues.
Yeah.
I really do. If you look at the timelines of both of them, it's just absolutely ludicrous. So, no normal sane human being, as far as I know, would act like that. So that's why I'm not bothering engaging them anymore. But I still think it's a really bad idea.
It's just really pathetic. And this is also something I wrote about on my blog because I grew up in a situation with some work that my mother did with a lot of victims of real abuse, especially rape. And I don't know one single person who has been raped or abused, and I do know quite a lot, who would react in the way that they describe to any of it. I just really feel that it's the fake victims of fake problems trying to cut themselves a piece of attention cake.
And as Crystal said last week, privileged people telling others to check their privilege.
Yeah, what does that even mean, for fuck's sake?
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, they even accused Godless Spellchecker, bless him, forgive the religious term, but bless him. He basically engaged with Vita, and she accused him of bullying, and he wasn't bullying, he was just asking her, perfectly normal questions. Mm-hmm. Basically, they play the victims where there's no need to play the victim. Now,
I just don't understand wanting to be a victim. Like, trying to find any excuse to make yourself sound like more of a victim. It's like desperately seeking the status of being a victim of something. I cannot understand it. How are you just not glad that you aren't one? Why try to find ways to claim that you're a victim?
Maybe some of them are hoping they'll make a living out of it.
Yeah, maybe they are. God knows.
Harking back to our friend Rebecca.
Yes, well, she probably is making a living out of it, yes. So I'm not quite sure what it's got to do with atheism, really. Anyway, it seems like the Atheism Plus is really about anything other than atheism. That seems to be one of the things they talk the least about.
It seems to be about radical feminism and privilege.
And telling other people that they can't use perfectly ordinary words.
Like cunt.
Yeah. Yes, well, but not even words that really are that. Just anything from his and her. Moron. I've seen a great big thread where you can't say that. I mean, I understand the argument that don't call somebody, for example, autistic, don't call them a retard. That's incredibly rude, mean, and inappropriate. However, when you're not using the word at somebody who actually is suffering from some kind of health condition, just using the word moron in normal conversation to describe stupidity in a generic sense, they call it ableism, another word that they've made up. As far as I'm concerned, yes. This is where I fall off the horse because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And they start to referring to specifically males like myself as CIS males. But when I saw CIS, I thought of Cooperative Insurance Services as a great big bloody building in Manchester for CIS. That's the first thing I thought of. I thought, what the fuck does he mean by CIS?
Well, I saw somebody else who had mistakenly thought that it meant comfortable in skin or comfortable in your skin. And they were then trying to say, shouldn't we want that for everybody? Shouldn't everybody try to achieve that? And of course, these people, you can't, of course, cis in the sense that they mean it. You can't achieve it, obviously, if you're not it. So they were going absolutely mental at him. Oh, there we go. That was ableist of me. I do apologize. Yeah. They were furious with him for daring to suggest that, but it was a misunderstanding about what the term stood for. I looked it up, and as I understand it, it is actually a genuine sociological or socio-anthropological term to mean that you gender identify as your biological sexual gender. However, it's just one of these things that they've appropriated and run wildly through the field with, isn't it? Yeah.
Would you agree with mine and Crystal's summation of the word cunt last week, in that in this country, certainly in the UK, I'm not sure about Norway, but in the UK it's definitely not gender specific. It could be used to address anybody.
Yes, I agree with that. In the Ricky Gervais sense. It's nothing to do with female genitalia as normally used and applied in everyday conversation. I would agree with that, yeah.
I mean, if I call somebody a twat, I'm not calling them a pregnant goldfish. I'm calling them, you know, it's either an affectionate term, well, hello, you twat, or you're a twat, you know, as in you're a dickhead or a knobhead or a smeghead, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It is the same thing.
But unfortunately, you direct that word at an American, especially an American under the delusions that the blockbotters and the atheism pluses labour under, and all the hackles go up and they start crying privilege and offence, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it's all about context, obviously. That word can be applied more or less offensively, completely depending on the context, but yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you know of Katie Hopkins. Katie Hopkins is a former contestant of The Apprentice who takes every opportunity she can to go on television and stir up controversy, i.e. saying that food banks shouldn't exist, saying that her children shouldn't play with ugly children or children with names like Dwayne and...
oh, yes, I thought I was going to say, I didn't know who you meant, but I've realised I do, yes.
She's got a nose about 6 feet long when you fold it in half. Anyway, she's a cunt, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
George W. Bush is a cunt.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter whether you have a penis or a vagina. A cunt is a cunt.
Yes.
Right.
And I don't quite see where's the bridge in the argument whereby you calling George W. Bush a cunt. How are you being a misogynist? There's no women involved in the scenario at all.
Right. I could call him an arsehole. Everybody has an arsehole. I could call him a dick. He's a dickhead. He is a dick. Okay. I could say what he does and says is bollocks. That's male genitalia.
Yeah.
Am I being a misandrist?
Or a homophobe?
Or a homophobe? No.
Yeah. No.
I mean, we throw the word bollocks, cunt, you know, dick around here all the time. Twat, fanny. It's thrown around all the time in England and nobody bats an eyelid. America, please take note and learn. Okay. On to the generic questions now for you, Zoe. What's your favourite song and why? Okay, yeah, again, I've been thinking about this because I have been listening to them, and you and Crystal intimidated me a little bit yesterday with all of this Unplugged album and knowing the back catalogue of everything you're talking about. Let's just establish straight away that I'm not there with music. Okay.
I like music. I have strong reactions to individual songs, but I'm not really into music as a topic, if you know what I mean. I don't know quite how to explain it.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about this because I thought you'd ask me. So there are a few songs. I'm one of those people that can't just pick one either. You'd have to give me categories and I could maybe pick one in each category. But one song that I was thinking about that just I love because it gives me really fantastic memories of the week I turned 19. And that is the song, I didn't even look up what the name of it is and I can't remember, but it's the song that goes the brimful of Asher on the 45.
Corner Shop, yeah.
Yes, Corner Shop, thank you. I absolutely love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah, so that's one. And Enter Sandman, Metallica.
Oh, yes, you've got to have Metallica, yeah.
Got to have Metallica. When I was younger and cooler, I loved all of that kind of music. 9 Inch Nails, Alice in Chains, Rage Against the Machine. I was a bit of a rocker. So Nirvana as well. I was into all of that sort of thing. But I also had, when I first moved to Oslo, I was telling you a bit about that, as you can imagine, breaking up with that boyfriend and sort of being all of a sudden all by myself. It was a bit of a hard time. And I was playing a Mary J. Blige song, which I thought, what the hell was the name of that then? It's about a dance floor. I could sing it. I don't really want to. And I played it over and over so much that my roommate, who was just a Norwegian guy that I didn't know, said to me, I'm sorry, I just have to ask you, what is the deal with you and that song? You play it a bit weirdly much. So there would have been a point in time that would have probably said that was my favourite song. It really does depend what I'm doing.
Right, what's your ideal job?
I'm going to say the same as John said, which is author. We're trying to write a book together. We are writing a book together. Yeah, that's my ideal job, to not have to have a pay the bills job and to be able to write and blog and write books and novels.
Yeah. It's great writing, isn't it? I'm a writer myself.
Love it.
Yeah. What can you give us a hint of what you and John are writing?
Well, yes, I can give a hint. We've given a couple of hints on Twitter. It's an apocalypse is going on. It's
is this the zombie story?
He has some zombies in it, but I wouldn't call it a zombie story, no.
Okay,
it's like a multiple point of view, slightly humorous apocalypse novel, and it's very underpinned by atheist ideas. There's a lot of gods in it, but not being treated with very much respect. Yeah. So that's about as far as we've gone talking about it, I suppose, at the moment. But we met up 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago in London and spent the day in the British Museum plotting out the whole of the rest of it. So all we've got to do now is continue to write it up because we now know in detail what's happening.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, actually, you guys, how that went, because John said I think we recorded the Smegcast just before we met you.
Yes.
How did it go? Did it go okay?
It was fantastic. What a laugh we had. I knew we'd have a laugh. We did. We really had fun. And it was very productive. He more so than me because as we were in the middle of it, a man dressed in the most ludicrously amusing outfit I've ever seen in my life sat down just behind John in my peripheral vision. Yeah. And at that point, the ability to concentrate on anything sensible sort of left me quite dramatically, and I was basically pissing myself laughing. And John was complaining that I wasn't concentrating, but when I said, okay, swap seats with me then, he said no, because then it'll be in my peripheral vision. So, so for that reason, John was perhaps slightly more productive than I was. He did the writing. I was contributing, then I was just laughing, and then I maybe managed to contribute a little bit more again just before we called it a day.
Oh, it sounds like you had fun.
We did.
Right. Number 8. 3-part question, you only have to answer one. Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, Star Wars or Star Trek, or John McClane or Jack Bauer?
Okay, well, first, I've never seen Star Trek, so that one eliminates itself quite happily. I only have to answer one. I'm going to say Jack Bauer.
Right, you're a 24 fan.
I'm a Kiefer Sutherland fan. But yeah. I was an avid 24 fan at the time that it was originally on, yes, but I've always liked Kiefer Sutherland.
Did you see 24 on its original broadcast on BBC Two in 2001?
I wouldn't have been living in the UK then, so whether or not I saw it on its original broadcast in America or in Norway from the American, or whether I saw it on, semi-legal download to an Xbox that was chipped, I don't know. I can't quite remember now. But yeah, I think I saw it more or less contemporaneously when it was new, yeah.
Yeah. They're making a new 24. It's going to take place over 12 episodes, and it's set in London.
All right.
They're filming it at the moment.
Still doing it?
Yep, Kiefer's in it, Chloe's in it.
Okay.
Okay, right. Now, what's your favourite film?
What is my favourite film? Again, I like a lot of films, and I watch quite a lot of films, but I'm not necessarily that into film as a sort of topic. So I have enthusiasms for films that just go in waves. At one point in time, a film will speak to me. But if I'm going to choose a real favourite film in terms of how many times I've watched it, how much I loved it at the time, and admittedly I haven't watched it for a long time now, but how much it meant to me and how many times I watched it at the time, I would say The Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate and Selma Blair.
Right, I've not seen it.
It's very girly, but it was quite daring at the time. There was a few sort of very, well, if I can use the expression, some tongue-in-cheek anal sex references and things like that. It wasn't too sickly sweet at all. That's probably why they called it The Sweetest Thing. They weren't that sweet.
Yeah, I've seen kind of Cameron Diaz's bitchy side.
Mm-hmm. They weren't bitchy. They weren't good girls.
Right.
In conventional sense. But they were lovely friends of each other.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. Is it a rom-com or is it...
It is a rom-com.
Is a rom-com, right. You know, aside from the Richard Curtis films, and maybe Pretty Woman, the only rom-com I really, really like, and maybe, I don't know, maybe Music and Lyrics, purely because the music in that's brilliant. But the only rom-com I really like is My Best Friend's Wedding.
Right.
Julie Roberts.
I've seen that a few times, yeah.
Love that film. I don't know why. It's one of my guilty pleasures, along with The Jazz Singer, so that's 2 guilty pleasures I've admitted to now. But that's coming up later. Okay, what's your most prized possession, Zoe?
That's difficult to answer because I would hesitate to say materialistic, but maybe something a little bit approaching that, perhaps, if I'm honest. I have always cared a lot about my possessions. I can remember as a kid crying because the car was outside in the rain and the storm at night. And I had a sort of anthropomorphic relationship to the car, I suppose, in a way. But my prized possessions, my jewellery is prized, and my iPad and my computer, they were presents from my husband. But if I'm going to give you a secret confession, then I do have a teddy bear that I've had since I was 2 years old that is still in my bed. Oh. So probably that. Him.
What's his name?
I'm not telling.
Oh, go on.
Doesn't have a name. I got him from my aunt. She'd had him for her 18th birthday, so he was already really old when I got him. And she called him Mr. Bitzer, but I always just thought that was a stupid name. So although that was his original name, I've never called him that. And in all honesty, I don't talk out loud to him. So I don't tend to address him by any name. I just give him a cuddle.
Bear.
Just Bear, yeah.
Is he still in good nick?
Not particularly, because he was a handmade bear when my aunt was 18.
Right,
just
so
made by a neighbour.
Lots of stuffing and stuff.
Lots of worn through felt paws and stuffing that is now missing, yeah. But it's also quite large. I mean, it's bigger than my daughter.
Wow.
Not talking about like a tiny little thing that's discreet in the corner here either. We are talking about something that... Let's just say that my husband's not a big fan.
Interesting. He's not a big fan of your bear?
Yeah. He's not a big fan of my bear being in our bed.
Right. Oh, yeah, I can see why. I can actually see his logic there.
I can too. I just don't care.
What's your favourite swear word and why?
Well, yeah, my favourite swear word and word, in fact, just in general, is fuck. Why? Again, I was saying this to John, so this is a bit repetitive if everybody's listening to both, which they're probably not. But it is just such a multi-purpose word. As I was saying to him, no other language has a word that is used in so many contexts and layers and ways, and it's just grammatically a completely amazing phenomena of a word. Other languages have words, dirty words for sex, and they have words for when you drop a hammer on your toe, but they don't have words that are both all wrapped up in one and the same little perfect 4 letters.
And as wonderfully versatile.
Versatile, that's the word, yeah.
Yeah. Next question, Zoe. If you could go back in time and change a decision you've made, where would you go and what would you do?
So do you mean in my personal life? You're not talking about history, you're talking about me? Like, it's not like abort Hitler type thing?
I've actually written the question as change a decision you made. That would infer personal. But if you want to go back in time and do something else that isn't personal, that's perfectly all right.
Oh, no, well, I haven't given that a massive amount of thought. Funnily enough, despite having said that my ideal thing to be would be an author, and if I ever were to become one, then I will officially revoke this. But per today, where I am not paid to be an author or a writer of any sort whatsoever, the thing I would change in my own personal life is doing English at university, because I always knew that I didn't want to be a teacher, and that's really all that you can usefully do with it. Maybe if I'd stayed in the UK, just having a good degree from a sort of old established university would have helped me more, because maybe there would have been a cachet to that, despite what the subject was. However, in Norway, there is no cachet to that whatsoever, so it's never actually helped me get a job, and I've never quite realised the potential I always felt I should have had for a career. So I sort of feel like it's never got me anywhere. It was a pure academic indulgence. It's not helped me. It doesn't make me be well paid. It doesn't make me seem well informed. I never get the chance to talk about it, or I'm not going to sit here and discuss Dostoevsky with you now. So I just feel like that was not a very good decision. If I knew now what I'd known then, I would never have done a 4-year degree in English literature.
It has, on the positive side, it has, I suppose in some way it's helped you become the writer that you are now, and maybe it will help you become a better writer in the future.
Well, that's why I'm saying I would revoke it if the writing ever pays off in any sort of way, either with recognition or money. But, I mean, obviously it's informed my general intelligence and outlook and critical thinking skills and writing skills.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's utterly without worth to me as a person, but it has not advanced my career.
I think you will become a successful writer. I certainly hope that both of you become successful writers. And when you do, remember us struggling ones, okay?
I'll promise you that. You've got that. It's not in print, but on tape.
On tape. On tinterwebs.
Yeah.
All right. Leading into question 13, tell me your favourite or the funniest joke that you've ever heard.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't have any of those kind of like gag joke things. But I'm gonna tell you something that I think is absolutely hilarious. I'm gonna credit a tweeter called this very lovely girl whose real name is Lucy. She tweets as Luffysaurus, like as in like a dinosaur, like a brontosaurus. Luffysaurus.
Right.
She is really well worth a follow. She has some of the funniest things I've read on her timeline. She finds the most amazing pictures and tweets them. And this was one that she and I are still enjoying months after she discovered it. And it was a woman whose son was in the US Army or military of some sort anyway, and he'd either been bullied and come under some kind of disciplinary problems with it, or he was just being straight out disciplined for something he'd done wrong. I'm not exactly sure what it was. And she had written a letter of complaint, which I don't know where Lucy got hold of it from, but it was then tweeted as a sort of copy of it. She said that her son that this and this had happened, and she found it to be absolutely disgraceful. Treatment he'd received was totally unwarranted, and her son had very clearly been made an scapegoat.
An scapegoat. I like it.
That's one of the funniest things I have ever heard. An scapegoat. It wasn't intended as a joke, but that is funny.
I know that we've only recently started following each other, but up until a few weeks ago, every Sunday, I used to do Sunday grammar fails.
Ah, yeah.
And it was people who posted Twitter or Facebook posts with complete spelling fails. And this guy said that he had an allergic reaction to milk, and he was lacto intolerance.
I love that kind of thing. That's my humour.
It was fun. It's funny though, a scapegoat. I'm gonna have to find that.
You have to find that. And we just tweet each other that, Lucy and I, just once a month or so. One of us just remembers it, tweets the other one, and then she'd had a thing about, it was something about the 10 Commandments, and she was making some sort of ironic or sarcastic tweet about the 10 Commandments, and I wrote, well, I believe that number 7 is, thou shalt not rape or covet thy neighbour's scapegoat. It's a joke that just never dies.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. Yeah. I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah.
Okay. New question.
Yes.
What's the most fucked up thing you've ever seen? Have you seen anything just weird, or just something that you've thought, what the fuck happened there?
Ooh, I no doubt have, but I'm not sure that I can come up with anything on the spot here. I am one of those people that loves nothing more than when somebody else falls over, and I've kind of taught that to my kids. So we do enjoy any sort of accident happening to anybody else. But I am fair about it. I do laugh a lot if I fall over as well. I try not to be one-sided about it. But no, I might have to get back to you on that. If I think of something really good, I'll tweet you it. I'm sure that I have many of them. I've just gone a bit blank.
I've seen a few fucked up things.
Right, go on.
Probably the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. I mean, I once saw a guy walking out of a sandwich shop with a Tesco carrier bag on his head with 2 holes cut in it. But that's not the most fucked up thing that I've seen.
No.
I was in Stoke-on-Trent, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. I was in Fenton, in Stoke-on-Trent, where I used to live. And I was at a set of traffic lights, and I glanced over to my left, and I saw, through a bedroom window, a naked man dancing a tango with an inflatable sex doll.
Oh my god! Draw the curtains!
And the curtains were open, and I could totally see what was going on, and I was like, what the actual fuck is going on in there?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the most fucked up thing I've ever seen.
That's the most fucked up thing, yeah. That's probably one of the most fucked up things anybody's ever seen,
Yeah.
to be fair. Yeah.
It was just totally surreal, and I came home and told my partner, and she absolutely lost it with laughter. Yeah, that was really fucked up. Okay,
good.
As a writer, Zoe, what's the best book you've ever read, and why did you love it so much?
Oh, okay, well, probably would answer that in two different ways. My favourite books ever are the Adrian Mole books by Sue Townsend. I've read them hundreds and hundreds of times. I stopped counting how many times I'd read the first one as a teenager. When I got to 150, I was actually making a note of it every time I reread it, and I stopped at 150. That was as a teenager. That's a bit obsessive, of course. But they're probably not, they're just my favourite books just because I love them and they comfort me and make me smile. They're probably not, talking as a writer though, that's probably not the thing I would try to emulate the most. I really love books that deal with serious subjects in a humorous way. So the kind of things that are more than just chick lit, because they're not just light, but they nevertheless read a little bit like light chick lit. So the two authors that stand out to me for that are Marion Keyes and Anna Maxted. And one of my favourite books in the whole entire world is by Anna Maxted, and it's called Running in Heels. And it's about a girl who's anorexic, quite seriously ill with anorexia, and it's about when her life starts to spiral out of control, and she begins to lose it. She begins to take a lot of cocaine, and she falls out with her best friend, and things start to get really fucked up in her life. But, hard as it sounds to believe, it's hilariously funny. It's absolutely hysterical. But with that subject matter, and when an author pulls that off, that is when I think, oh, that's what I would want.
Something special, yeah.
Yeah. What's the third one? There's the Cappuccino Years. There's the one where he gets prostate cancer. There is, but what order do they come in? There's Adrian Mole and the Weapons of Mass Destruction.
I've definitely read. Did you see the TV series?
Well, I was aware of it. I don't think I ever watched it because it's so special to me inside my head that nothing on TV that changed any of it could ever do it justice for me.
Maybe interesting for you to actually go back and watch the TV series and see if they got it right. Because you know the book so well. Yes,
and I think the answer probably just is that they didn't, to me anyway. The Wilderness Years is maybe the one you're thinking of.
Yeah, the Wilderness Years, yes, I read that one as well.
Yeah.
I did read the Wilderness Years.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the religious allusion to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, she's brilliant, and some of her other books are amazing as well.
Yeah. I read The Queen and I.
The Queen and I, that's what I've read
I love
lots
that.
of times. Yeah.
And I honestly think they should do that. I honestly think that they should put the royal family in a set of council houses, at least for a period of time, and just see if they can cope.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
So do I.
Yeah, love to see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where in the world, I mean, you strike me as quite a travelled person, actually, Zoe, but where in the world would you like to visit that you haven't visited already, and what would you do when you got there?
I've never been to Thailand. I would quite like to visit there. But, actually, travelled. I've travelled a lot of places just on holidays, but I am actually a bit of a, what should we call it? I'm a bit of a coward, a bit of a pussy, quite frankly, when it comes to being out of my comfort zone in foreign countries. So I get really nervous and terrified that I'm going to be raped and mugged and murdered, and even just taking a taxi from the airport tends to send my blood pressure quite high. So actually, I think my husband thinks I'm an awful person to travel with, in fact. I probably make it a lot more stressful than it needs to be. And I'm also one of those people that if I can't plug my hairdryer in, then I'm not particularly interested in going. So I would be like, I once famously got, this isn't bad a thing, I got picked up in the car by my mum from the Tea in the Park festival once. because it was muddy, it was a tent, it was fucking awful. I couldn't see what there was to enjoy. Nothing about it appealed to me on any level. So I phoned my mum. She drove down and picked me up. That's more where I am. But holidays, by all means, there's lots of places that I would go. I would like to go to more places in the States. I've been there a few times. I've been to quite a lot of places, but not all of them. I'd like to go to Florida. We nearly did last year and it fell through. So that's definitely still on my list.
Are we talking Orlando or Miami or St. Petersburg?
No, probably all around. I mean, we do have
Right.
2 children. My daughter is too small for it at the moment, but when they're both old enough to really enjoy, is it Disneyland or Disney World? I can never remember, but whichever one is there, we would definitely go there with the kids. But obviously it's perhaps not my personal top choice for a day out, but I would definitely really enjoy taking the children. But yeah, luxury beaches, massages, all of that sort of thing, cocktails in the sand, there, anytime.
Excellent. You'd like Florida. You'd like Disney. There would be something to amuse you or to divert you in Disney World. They've got something for everybody.
Yeah, of course.
Epcot. I mean, I went there in '95. I haven't been back to Orlando since, but Epcot was absolutely brilliant. And I'm convinced Epcot stands for every person comes out tired.
Right, probably. I know a brilliant story about that. I worked for a while in the city of Norway where I live now in quite a nice hotel. And a lot of the people, the kids, the younger people at work, they're on reception in the summer and all that sort of thing. They'd done a lot of that, go and do a summer at Disney World, go and do a summer at all of those places, camp counselor, or all of those things that you can do in America.
Yeah.
And one of the guys told me, or told all of us this story. He'd done, am I not right in thinking that inside the Epcot Center there's a pavilion for all the countries of the world?
Yes.
Yes. So he'd obviously been on the Norwegian one, working on it, as a teenager or a student, a young person for a summer. And a woman had said to him, "Tell me, do you guys have the same problem in Norway with the trolls that we do with the Negroes?"
What?
Yes. True story. She just asked him that. He nearly died. I mean, where'd you even start answering it? Yeah.
What can you say?
What can you say? Where'd you begin? It's just too much wrong. It's too much fail, isn't it? Yeah.
But these people don't realise they're failing, and they don't realise just how wrong it is.
This was her way of genuinely showing interest. Somebody else had asked him where Norway was, and he'd said, well, it's a country in Scandinavia. And she said, "Don't be so stupid. I know that it's beside one of the Carolinas. There's no need to be sarcastic. I'm just asking, is it north or south?" I mean, this is, to some people, that is taking an interest in multicultural affairs. To other people, it is failing at life.
You see, the Americans that I come into contact with on Twitter are all very intelligent, very, very intelligent, and you wouldn't, they have the ability that us Brits are kind of ingrained with, but Americans typically haven't got, and that's the ability to understand irony. My Twitter American friends understand irony, and they use it just like we Brits do.
Yeah. And 2 of my absolute favourites are actually in Florida.
Tweeters?
Tweeters, yeah.
Go on, name check them.
Name check them. Okay, skepticism first.
Yeah.
And, well, this is contentious. Biageri and I have a laugh about this. We call him Submarina. We've both read it as it's Subman USN, and we read it as Submarina, but apparently it's Submariner.
Submariner, yeah, I've seen him. I've seen him around, and I've seen Skepticism first as well. I might even follow them. I mean, I follow
if you don't do. If you don't do.
Yeah. Okay, I shall go and have a look at that. Okay, right, next. And this is where I'm going to slightly embarrass you, Zoe.
Oh, really? As if I haven't already by telling about my teddy?
Well, we may even edit that one out. Give us your best impression.
Oh, my best. I just did 2 terrible American accents for you.
No, that doesn't count. It's got to be a proper impression. It's got to be an impression of somebody or something. Proper
impression of somebody. I am sure that there was somebody I used to be able to do an impression of, but I cannot think who the hell it was. I tell you who it was, but I'm not sure if I can do it off the top of my head now. Jane Horrocks as Bubble in Absolutely Fabulous.
Oh, go on, give
I
it a
can
go.
do her. Yeah, okay, I can
Give it a
go. There's the bit where Edwina says to her, Bubble, what's your job? I don't really know. What do you do, sweetie? What do you do when you turn up here? Nothing. Get paid. Right, come on. You said you were going to embarrass me. I did it.
But that's how she talks to me. She's got a really thick northern accent.
I think that, by anybody's standards, is a fair stab at
That was good.
impression.
That was good. That was a good Jane Horrocks.
I'm glad I remembered who it was I could do. Yeah.
I'd give that an 8 out of 10.
Okay, good. I'm happy with that.
Right. What things make you smile or laugh? And laugh?
Well, we've covered a few of them. Bad English or grammatical mistakes and people falling over. Very much.
Search the hashtag Sunday Grammar Fails and you should get all the posts.
Oh,
People falling over.
People falling over, definitely. I could not love that more, pretty much. They show America's Funniest Home Videos on television in Norway at about 6:30 every single night, which is often when we finish dinner and we've just sort of got the kids on the couch. So we do tend to have that on in the background. The best part of that for me, it's people who think that they can dance and that they can just get away with pulling off some really elaborate big lift or jump. And it doesn't seem to occur to them that people that can do that have practiced for years and years and taken a lot of lessons and really know what they're doing. Why anybody thinks that they can just suddenly pull that out the hat on a whim is a mystery to me, and where I love it is when they so richly deserve to fall over. I don't think some little old lady slipping on the ice is funny, but I think that people that totally deserve it, crashing onto their ass and bringing down a table and a cabinet and a television, because they think that they can swing dance like a Gap advert out of the blue on a whim. I love that. If I'm going to answer it in the sentimental way, then Biageri makes me laugh.
Oh yeah, he's a funny guy, John. He makes me laugh as well. Presuming you do get your fair amount of snow in Norway, you see lots of old people slipping on their asses and stuff.
I don't think so, actually, because if you live in the climate where they have it, you just walk on it like Jesus on water. Actually, the people that slip on the ice here are foreigners.
Right, they've not got the proper grips on the boots and stuff.
Yeah, but Norwegians don't even need it after a while, I would say. I had a friend from Chile once, like sort of my age, and she had a Norwegian husband and she bought spikes for the bottom of her shoes. And he was like, I'm sorry, you're not 90. I can't walk through town with you like you're a granny. You're my wife. And she was like, I come from Chile. Are you mad? I cannot walk on this. And he was like, you're going to have to because you look ridiculous. Yeah.
You should have just put skates on her and dragged her along with you.
Yeah, I think that would have almost been less embarrassing. So maybe, I don't know, of course old people do fall on the ice. Obviously lots of people break their leg each year and all of that. Of course they do. But it's just a case of being used to it, really.
Yeah, and it's not pleasant for them, but bugger me, it's funny to watch.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, penultimate question. What's your guilty pleasure? Or pleasures?
Apart from sleeping with a teddy bear.
Apart from sleeping with a teddy bear.
Apart from sleeping with a teddy bear, let me see. It's something that every time I tweet anything about it, randomly, I get followers who I immediately know are not going to be liking me one day later, and it's makeup and beauty products, and specifically YouTube videos with makeup tutorials and reviews of beauty products. Do spend quite a lot of hours each week watching that sort of thing. I love makeup. I love it. I would consider it a hobby. And if I ever occasionally do say something about a beauty guru or mention a brand or a product, you inevitably get followed by the type of girls that definitely don't call themselves feminists. And I always think, you're probably not going to ultimately love what I'm doing around here just because we both like mascara.
And I bet if you followed them, you'd probably get something like, got drunk with Gaz last night, innit? Something like that. Yeah,
or just horrendous attitudes towards, being a girl. I don't see it as antithetical to love makeup but still have a brain.
It's like, other side of the coin from a male point of view, sometimes I tweet about games and I get followers, gamers, young lads, or, young gamers. If I tweet something about GTA 5, I get followers, GTA 5 followers, and they don't usually like what I've got to say about God. So,
yeah, right.
You know, I kind of know what you mean there. But Sharon, my partner, doesn't wear makeup. She never ever wears makeup, apart from maybe a bit of eyeliner on a special occasion if we go out.
Okay.
The makeup thing I don't understand, but I know what you mean, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely makeup, and my quite heightened interest in makeup as a topic, as well as in wearing it, is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Have you ever thought of, being as you have such an interest in it, have you ever thought of actually doing your own brand, your own style of makeup?
God, I would love to do that, but you have to be somebody that people have heard of. I think I've probably, at this point, got more chance of having a book published, to be honest with you, than that. Some of these YouTube people that I follow who do these makeup tutorials and reviews have over 1 million subscribers. Some of them have 2 million subscribers on YouTube. And once in a while, one of them will be offered their own line. So one of my favourite ones has got some makeup coming out in the UK now. But again, 2 million subscribers is what is between me and that. I have none. I don't even have a channel. So there would be quite a long way to go before I would ever be at that stage.
Would you ever do a makeup tutorial on YouTube yourself?
I would so love to, but I certainly won't be telling any of you on Twitter if I ever do.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. I've got a Smegcast I do twice a week, and I come on and make a prat of myself. It's all good fun.
I would love to. I'm very tempted, and I will confess to when I'm putting on my own makeup, I do often just talk myself through what I'm doing and show the mirror the brush I'm going to use to do this, and here's why. Yeah.
Okay, last question, Zoe.
Yeah.
When you joss it, what would you have on your gravestone?
Yeah, do you know what, actually, I don't know if I'm really that into having a gravestone at all, to be honest with you. I'm a massive, I think one of the biggest sort of tenets of my atheism is just the idea that when you're dead it goes black, and that is completely, totally unproblematic to me. I think that, and I firmly believe that when you die, it's not a problem for you. The only people that's a problem for are the people that you leave behind.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you have a long, drawn-out illness, especially when you've got children, that's going to be a very tragic time. But if I got hit by a bus tomorrow and that was the end of me, that would also be the end of it being anything I needed to worry about. So the idea of the sort of gravestone thing, I would definitely want something joyous. Just would want people to remember that I made the most of what I had and did the best I could while I was here. And if people remembered me in that way, then that would be really all I could ask for.
Sum it up in one line, what you would like to leave the world on what your epitaph would be, if you could sum it up in one line.
Ooh.
You don't want the stonemason working overtime, do you?
No. I don't know. What would it be? I mean, obviously I do have children. Loving mother. I mean, you've got to have that, don't you?
Yeah.
But
loving mother.
Loving mother. She was rather fucking fabulous.
That sounds like a good epitaph.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody thinks that about me though, but they all have to say nice things about me after I'm dead, don't I? Actually, yeah, they all oblige to be really nice about me, so we can say that, yeah.
Right, okay. That's going to be your epitaph. Before we wrap this up, Zoe, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to, or are there any hint podcasts or blogs that you'd like to share with us?
It's called the Antisocial Justice Podcast, as in antisocial justice, or as in anti-social justice. Yeah, it's quite good, we think. So when that goes up, he's in charge of the technical side of it. Then obviously we hope that people want to have a listen to that.
Okay.
Is coming, but I've got a blog. It's called theworldaccordingtograce.com.
Theworldaccordingtograce.com. Okay.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to look at that, that's my attempt to write about serious things in a humorous way. Okay,
so for news on the podcast, follow Beagrie or Beagrie, Beagrie, or follow this lady here, Zoe Jen _ or go to theworldaccordingtograce.com and read her wonderful blog.
Yeah.
That sums it up.
That sums it up.
Anybody you want to give a shout out to? I mean, I'll shout out to Crystal, and I'll shout out to Neil, and to Jordan and Sue, and to the Lady Satan for being such wonderful guests previously.
Yeah. I've got one recommendation for a follow of somebody who is a theist and also an American conservative. But she's also a skeptic, and she also loves makeup, and she's one of my most fabulous, best tweeters ever. And she's called D.A. Cross with an E, so C-R-O-S-S-E.
Right, D.A. Cross.
D.A. Cross. Follow her. She's one of the best there is.
Okay, right, I'll have a look at her tweets. I can't really guarantee that I'll retweet any of the makeup stuff, but...
we keep makeup on DM for reasons of preserving our credibility.
Right, that's fair enough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Going to give a shout out to James P. Morrison, played Bill Buchanan on 24, and is one of the most awesome tweeters around. I'll let him know that I've name-checked him at the end of this podcast. Whether he listens to it or not is another thing. I'm actually writing something for him at the moment, so I shall let you all know how that goes on. Zoe, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. I've really enjoyed it.
So have I.
Great, and, you know, it is really good to follow you because, it's, you know, John's a great guy. Crystal, I love to bits. You know, it's good we've got mutual friends as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I shall have you and John back both together on a separate podcast in the future. You have my promise.
Yes, as long as you both guarantee not to say anything at all about Dorset or the West Country and my accent.
Well, I'm going to edit that out, so don't worry.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and long may our Twitter relationship continue. But like I say, I'll have you back on the Smegcast soon. Okay?
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Zoe. It's been an honour talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.